Hey friends, before we begin, I just want to say this interview was recorded on Friday morning before we knew for sure that there were enough votes to get Kavanaugh confirmed. But the fact that Kavanaugh will now be sitting on the U.S. Supreme Court only makes the words you're about to hear from John B. Wells all the more powerful and pertinent.
You're going to see arrests, and then you're going to see indictments, and then you're going to see convictions. And in the words of the fictitious Jack Valentine from the old Nicolas Cage movie, Lord of War, some of them are going to spend the next 10 years just going from their cell to the courtroom before they're ever tried and convicted, which they will be. They are scared to death.
Guys, I want to let you know this interview is being brought to you in part by our friends at Rugged Reserves. Look, after a car crash, every second counts. So take a look at this. The Patriot Charger was designed to help you in unexpected incidents on the road. Use the built-in powerful LED flashing red emergency beacon for nighttime emergencies. And if you're ever trapped due to flooding or fire, use the seatbelt cutter and window breaker to free yourself. The Patriot Charger is always within reach because it plugs into your cigarette lighter and it doubles as a car phone charger and portable power bank. Great for an early Christmas gift for loved ones, to give you peace of mind that they'll be safe. Rugged Reserves is offering you a pre-sale special on this handy device for only $49.99, but if you click the link below right now, you'll save $10 and get it for only $39.99. The link is in the more information section below this video. And now, guys, I have a most special guest. Thanks so much for tuning in. Look, I got to say I'm a little shaken. I just did the first 20 minutes of an interview with John B. Wells here on Zoom. And right in the middle of it, I realized I never hit the record button. So we're starting all over. And John B. Wells from Caravan to Midnight joins us now. John, thanks for being such a good sport. I'm sorry about that.
You shouldn't have told him that, man. This is show business.
Well, you know what, though? Yeah, well, thanks for saying that. But the fact of the matter is, this is real news. And you and I really cut to the chase on some important items, including the latest from Q. We've got some bombshells coming from Q right now. We've got the morally bankrupt left on the run. They're completely out of ammo. We covered all of it. But before we get into that, tell people how they can find your stuff. It's Caravan to Midnight. They can subscribe, but they can listen live to Arc to Midnight, live Saturday nights, 9 to midnight Central. Just bring people up to speed on how they can find you.
Well, I always put it this way because I mean it. And these are the words. Tuesday through Friday, I am privileged to host Caravan to Midnight, which can be found at caravantomidnight.com. It's a membership service which keeps our channel from being closed. You know, I knew that you can't trust these big platforms. When this thing kicked off February 3rd, 2014, after I left Coast to Coast AM for talking about global communism and its resurgence. That's what got me blown out of there. Absolutely. And the fact that I mentioned a couple of times regarding former President Obama, I can't bear the sight of him. So they didn't like that either. Some of their sponsors didn't. But anyway, on Saturday night, we do Arc Midnight, which is based off of that mothership thing that I used to say regarding Coast to Coast AM, and it just kind of, so I've suitably confused everybody. I got you doing it too. Carl Lamb, the oldest living broadcaster maybe in the world. He's been on his job continuously for 72 years up there in Smithfield, North Carolina. He calls it Arc to Midnight also, but Arc Midnight is the program, and the whole Caravan to Midnight concept is simply that. As soon as that moment, just that moment strikes, you know, the phrase tomorrow never comes. That's because when tomorrow gets here, it's called today. So midnight is that point where everything that has led up to this point is finished. And what's to come awaits just as soon as we pass the cusp. So it's been the most rewarding job of my entire career of 40 years. So that's it. We're totally member supported. We have 1,003 programs in archive right now. Tonight it'll be 1,004. So, and it's $60 for the year. So they're less than 6 cents a piece. And they are so rich in detail of things that you talk about. And unlike live radio, we don't have all those breaks, but we do it on Saturday night from 9 to midnight Central out of, you can get all the links to various stations, streams all over the place. It's going all over the world. And I'll tell you more on that later because we want to get into the things that we want to talk about. But
Well, yeah, and let me rewind because in our previous conversation here, the 20 lost minutes, which I'll never get back, and they were great, guys. I'm so sorry I flubbed that up. But you mentioned a guest you just had on who's an expert in aviation, and you guys did a 7-hour conversation about that plane crash that took the life of Fuddy, Loretta Fuddy. Is that her name?
Yeah,
She was the
correct.
connection to the Obama birth certificate, the whole cover up. She had the connection to the whole family, the cult, and the soft water landing of that plane looked as gentle as a runway landing. Everybody exited the aircraft, including her, and then she mysteriously died. Tell us just a little bit about that. I wonder if she was pulled under by a diver. What happened?
Unbelievable. Hugo Fugan has been the prime financial or operating officer of 3 different aircraft companies. He developed some software because he's a genius on a spectacular level, which has become known as Microsoft Flight Simulator. There's also Microsoft Tower, used by military and civilian all over the world. My son was using Microsoft Flight Simulator since he was 5. Okay. This man completely deconstructed the entire Loretta Fuddy fatality fable. There were Navy divers there, a swimmer delivery vehicle there, flight restrictions, I believe from flight level 23 to 27, which is 23,000 to 27,000 feet. They were under surveillance. That was a Cessna Caravan. Catastrophic engine failure, man. Pratt& Whitney turbine-powered propeller aircraft, which means it's just a jet engine powers it instead of a reciprocating engine, gasoline engine. Those things don't have catastrophic failures. It's built like a brick outhouse. And he provided recordings from people's smartphones inside the cabin. Everybody's calm. No big deal. All it was a soft water landing. Nothing more. And more to the point, that island, I spoke with Dr. Dimitra Anabisiaris, one of the speakers at Operation Classified, coming up in November 9, 10, and 11. More on that later. She said that she lives in Hawaii, and she says that island is notorious for weird stuff that is going on. My last missive from her stated that every trace of everybody that had anything to do with that fatal crash is gone. And the native inhabitants there are resisting with all their might this push to turn that particular little part of the island into a national park or state park. They have erased all evidence that that event even took place. And there's a website called Butter Dazillion. And this woman has posted, we've had her on Caravan to Midnight, and she posted all kinds of video. And you see people all over the place. Loretta Fuddy, in my opinion, is not dead. Loretta Fuddy was part of Subud, S-U-B-U-D. So was Obama. So was Frank Marshall Davis. So was Stanley Ann Dunham, his little soft porn mom. So she's on a beach somewhere having a drink with a little hat in it. You know what I mean? A little tiny hat, a little cocktail, a
Yeah,
little Mai Tai.
I wonder
Yeah.
if that's not true. My suspicion was she was pulled under and drowned, but who knows the truth? With these people, they're all liars. We talked about this in our first 20 minutes. They're all liars. The morally bankrupt left has nothing left to sell to the American people but their lies or their fear or their Marxist talking points. And any right-thinking American is walking away. Nobody wants anything to do with it. And now these people, according to Q, are in a panic because the witch is no longer in the White House. The witch isn't in the White House to stack the deck. So there's a new sheriff in town, and Q posted on Thursday the 4th, get this, John, this is so powerful. Q posted, this is post 2343. Are you ready to see arrests? Are you ready to see pain? Are you ready to be a part of history? Q. John, these are exciting times. I think we're going to see perp walks. I think we're going to see bad guys going down. And if you look at Feinstein's face, you can see the fear in their eyes, I swear.
Yes. You know what? It's interesting you say that because when I was watching her yesterday, it occurred to me, I do this frequently. I'm telling you, there's something to that old saying that the eyes are the windows to the soul. They are.
Yep.
And if you will look at some of these people and just hold your hand up, even to the TV, even if you're 10 feet, 15 feet away from it, just hold up your hand and cover up the face and just look at the eyes. You can tell instantly if somebody's afraid, if somebody is lying, if somebody's crazy, or if somebody's telling the truth. Dianne Feinstein looked like she was about to burst into tears. She looks scared to death. And she damn well should feel that way because her Chinese spy driver, her chauffeur of 20 years, combined with Hillary Clinton's deliberate, in my opinion, Sean, I'll calm down. People like mellow John B, not jacked up John B, I understand. But that horrible Clinton woman is, now that's evil, okay? That woman is evil. She was evil the moment that her mama dropped her. She deliberately put that server online so that the Chinese could get into it. Now, you've seen this thing on Zero Hedge about how the Chinese and their little chip from Supermicro.
Yep, read that yesterday.
It's in everything, folks. It's everywhere. And who was it? It was Amazon that copped to it. Why would Amazon cop to it? Because they have built a $600 million a year server farm for CIA and got another contract to build a big server farm for NSA. Jeff Bezos, like him or hate him, this is one serious cat. And he called somebody and they went, what? And he went, we need to talk. Those Chinese, Sean, what has happened, in my opinion, now this may sound a little wild for some, but I believe it. When you behold a group of people, the Democrat leadership, many of their followers, many of the Democrats think this is their granddaddy's or their daddy's Democrat Party. It's not. It's the Communist Party. It is the Communist Party, ladies and gentlemen. You'll find out I'm telling you the truth. She was trying to, and has done largely, pushed this country into a corner. Through Obama, that disgusting excuse for anything, and his husband, Michael, broke our military, fired our officers, infused homosexuality openly into the military to demoralize the straight ones, tried to put females, women on the frontline infantry, combat position. They have been trying to force us into a soft surrender to the communist Chinese. Feinstein's driver, spy, drove her around for 20 years while Feinstein's husband made millions doing business with the Chinese. That's how they pervert them. These people are not all evil, but they have been corrupted. The guys, the girls, the pictures, the naked pictures.
Yeah, the honeypots.
Starting with the Columbia Hotel and many other hotels, I'm sure.
The Standard Hotel, the children. You see, this gets us into the whole topic of Pedogate, or as it's known in D.C. with Comet Ping Pong and the Podesta connection, Pizzagate. And we don't have to get into that because our audience is very well versed in the ways of the intelligence agencies and in the ways that these politicians are corrupted. And Breitbart, Andrew Breitbart got it right in February of 2011 when he pointed the finger via Twitter at John Podesta, calling him a world-class underage sex slave op cover-upper defending unspeakable dregs. And he was never sued for that, but he was murdered. And that's what these people practice in. They practice in wet works. We've got the Podesta email suggesting that they may have whacked Scalia. And by the way, folks, yeah, I believe so too. And that's why we're seeing all this about Kavanaugh. We're going to get into that in a second. All of these massive orchestrated bits of theater, like when Flake was cornered on the elevator. By the way, Trump tweeted about that today saying, I'll quote, "The very rude elevator screamers are paid professionals only looking to make senators look bad. Don't fall for it. Also, look at all of the professionally made identical signs paid for by Soros and others. These are not signs made in the basement from love. Hashtag troublemakers." Trump, this is what I love about President Trump. John, he takes his case to the American people because CNN will only lie, misrepresent the truth. They won't tell people that those two elevator protesters that cornered Flake.
Look at me when I'm talking to you. You're telling me that my assault doesn't matter, that what happened to me doesn't matter, and that you're going to let people who do these things into power.
We're on the payroll of Soros. CNN won't tell people that. But just back to my point about those leaks, the Podesta email leaks, the Clinton email leaks. That all came from Seth Rich. It wasn't Russian hackers. It wasn't Chinese hackers. But CNN won't tell people that either. And guess what? Getting back to the idea of wet works, they whacked Seth Rich.
Obviously.
So these people practice in wet works, and Q has said that if the witch had gotten into the White House, it would have been, quote unquote, hell on earth. Pure evil, because they truly are. Many of these people are truly hardcore pure evil. And you're right. They wanted to destroy this country, basically, with a communist manifesto. I think you're 100% right.
That you are entirely correct. And when you think about it, look, there are certain organizations, military organizations, intelligence organizations, and others, and it is my personal credo. They, I, you your audience is made up of people who do not tolerate those who lie, steal, or cheat. They don't do it themselves. They don't tolerate the company of those who do. Now, statistically, if you look at the 60 some odd million who voted for Mr. Trump, and let's say Hillary Clinton was within 4 million, 5 million, okay? That still leaves us almost 250,000 people to play with. Fine. So if you take the statistic that 18% of Americans have either been diagnosed with or are currently being treated for some form of mental illness, this does not factor in those who have not sought to be diagnosed nor treatment. Most of those people have gravitated to the Democrat Party. How else could you possibly explain what is, to you and me, patently insane behavior? It's insane. The things that come out of their mouths don't make any sense. But here's the other part, and it's an unfortunate part, but it is a reality, a harsh reality. Some people are just plain stupid.
Well, and they've been indoctrinated through these public schools, John. I mean, all of this stuff has been a plan rolled out over decades to destroy critical thinking and really to destroy the fabric of our otherwise previously moral society.
I fucking love Satan, so fuck you.
These people would just as soon burn the Bill of Rights as opposed to see Kavanaugh placed on the Supreme Court, because they worship essentially at the altar of abortion. If that's all they have to sell to the American people, then it's game over. And, I want to be real clear here. There's corruption on both sides of the aisle. But in your life, did you ever expect to see so much blatant corruption, so obvious for all to see, like what we're seeing from the left? I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And now here's a tweet from Benny Johnson. I want to share this with people. A new twist. Just released Grassley letter to Christine Ford, ends on an ominous and mysterious note. Quote, in light of recently uncovered information, please turn over all communications with Feinstein and Hirono. This is huge, Benny writes. May be why GOP began growing a spine. They have something big on the Dems. And then our friend Lisa Mae Crowley on Twitter replied or retweeted, no wonder Feinstein looked absolutely defeated after reading the FBI report yesterday, the report on Kavanaugh. She knows she's totally screwed. So if we get back to that Q post, John, are you ready to see arrests? Are you ready to see pain? I think the investigation may be turning around here on Feinstein and her criminal cohorts.
Q is a group, but they are one. You know what I mean? You're going to see arrests, and then you're going to see indictments, and then you're going to see convictions. And in the words of the fictitious, based on a real person, Jack Valentine from the old Nicolas Cage movie, Lord of War, some of them are going to spend the next 10 years just going from their cells to the courtroom before they're ever tried and convicted, which they will be. They are scared to death. What else? I mean, let's just look at it from a little distance. Why do people flip out the way the left has flipped out? And again, you're right. We're going to discover some rats on the right side of the aisle. There's no doubt about it. But everything is different than what it appears to be, just like with Flake. Now, either this worked out really beautifully, or they resisted, and said, okay, and to put a little icing on the cake, he gets ambushed by a bunch of professional activists, right, in the elevator, with that look on his face, like, oh. And then he has some conscience about it and says, okay, let's do another investigation, which comes up with what? Nothing at all, just like everybody knew it would reveal nothing. But what did it do? It galvanized the right. And it's 51-49 right now. Kavanaugh's going to be confirmed. Then watch for the left to go crazy, because the same bastardi that has been trying to destroy this country are the same as those trying to destroy. They are the ones who are trying to destroy South Africa, which I say again is, or was until the advent of Mr. Trump, the model, the prototype, the test bed for what they were trying to do here. That's the reason behind the ridiculous open borders policy. all these Muslims streaming in that are completely incompatible with Western civilization unless they were Muslims and now they're Christians. And I don't much care what anybody thinks about that. And I want to declare right now that Christianity has done more for the world than any other religious sect whatsoever. Sure, it's been twisted and perverted because that's what evil does. Evil doesn't create anything. It twists, it perverts, it distorts something that's already been created. The Christian men and women of this nation are far greater in number than anyone thinks. They are the ones who are standing up to this evil, and that's what it is. And I repeat, the whole idea was to wage a soft economic war with China, blame Russia the whole time. So we'd be looking there instead of where we should be looking, because, you need to teach your children how to speak Mandarin. Why is that? Oh, because the Chinese, they can just hold it forever. The moron idiot who told me that and really ticked me off at the time when he said it, this was in 2007. He doesn't have a job with the Chinese anymore. So that was the idea. Get a resurgence of the communist left in this country. Give everything economically over to China. Acquiesce to their demands and become subservient to them. That is the evil of Hillary Clinton, a hardcore communist whose mentor and God with a little g that puke Saul Alinsky writes in his book, Rules for Radicals. This book is dedicated to Lucifer. These people aren't kidding. When somebody like George Soros says, destroying America will be the culmination of my life's work. What, do we think he was just popping off? He had a couple of tokes off a doobie and a couple of drinks. He just decided to smart off? No. He means it. Just like Casey when he said, we will know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American people believe is false. He was assassinated. He died in a canoeing accident. How many people are killed in canoeing accidents? What are the chances?
Right.
Zero.
What I find fascinating about everything that's going on right now in current events, especially, let's just take the Kavanaugh case, the interrogation, the persecution of Kavanaugh in these quote-unquote hearings. They roll out these women, or one woman in particular, Ford, but all these other allegations too, completely unfounded, but they roll out Ford, who's completely suspect. You've talked about her potential ties to the CIA, strange family ties, things of that nature, psychologist at Stanford, I believe. The whole thing stinks from top to bottom. And then she gets up there and says,
36 years ago, this happened. I had one beer, right? I had one beer. Well, do you think it was? Nope, it was one beer. Oh, good. How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't know. I don't know. What neighborhood was it in? I don't know. Where's the house? I don't know.
But I do remember, Brett, I had one beer and he tried to rape me. And that passes the smell test. That's how corrupt these Democrats are. They're going to roll her out. She's now been completely discredited. And now the left is in pure panic because everybody can see what's going on. And I think Kavanaugh probably will be confirmed on Saturday.
I think so.
We're having this conversation on Friday, so I'm going to have to hustle to get this thing posted because I don't want it to be old news. Do you think he'll be confirmed?
Absolutely. I do believe he will. And not only that, I think that if he's not confirmed, Mr. Trump will nominate him again. We'll start it all over again, rush the process through, and he'll be confirmed the second time. And in the meantime, between Mr. Trump renominating him and it'll all be short because it's all been done before. They'll be able to cover all that ground. There'll be way less hysteria, and it'll go on through. And over the course of that short timeline, some people are going to be told, you better get with the program or we're going to rat you out for everything that you've done in your life.
See, I think that, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I think that's what happened to Lindsey Graham. The guy has absolutely done a 180 over the past several months. Oh, absolute 180. He and McCain, I held them in the same bucket as traitors. And now Lindsey Graham is President Trump's biggest cheerleader. And did you see that conversation during the confirmation process where he was speaking to Kavanaugh about military tribunals, the difference between military courts for traitors and civilian courts, and your constitutional rights do not protect you if you've been a traitor to the country? That was a pretty important conversation right there in front of the American people.
Oh, yeah.
That's why there's panic in D.C., John.
And, I don't hear anybody on the right picking on Lindsey Graham or criticizing him for being gay. You hear the left doing that on the so-called comedy shows. Oh, they just think that's real funny. But I'll say one thing about Lindsey Graham. He has finally found his testicular fortitude and has stood up like a man and done the right thing. Because at least, nobody cares if you're gay. At least he had enough self-respect and dignity to keep that stuff on the down low and just do his job. Whatever he did in politics aside, they're starting to attack him personally now. And heretofore, the left, of course, was the biggest champion of homosexuality and the whole gay agenda, which is a psychological operation in itself. Look, these useful idiots, that expression that Joseph Stalin used, you know who he was talking about. He wasn't talking about his own people. He was talking about Americans who tout communism as being this great thing. These willing followers of the Democrat leadership are, I hate to tell them, but it's true, they must be told, they're being made fools of. They are the useful idiots that Stalin talked about. And notice, Russia. Haven't heard a thing about Russia, but Russia's the enemy. Russia's never been the enemy. They helped us in our revolution. They helped us in World War I. They won World War II for us, because I'm telling you, there's no way we would have defeated Nazi Germany without the Red Army. It would not have happened, not at all. Now, they knew that Stalin was unhinged, wall goes up the middle, and Russia becomes the continual enemy for 70 some odd years. But here's the thing. We've always done business with them. We got the titanium from them to build our SR-71 Blackbird. That's a spy plane, isn't it? Yeah. And we're still buying rocket engines from them. They even said, I said, I wonder about those rocket engines when they sanctions before last. They said, we're going to punish them economically. And I wondered, what about those rocket engines we buy from them to lift our military satellites into orbit? Folks, it's true. And sure as hell, about a week later, a little notice came out that we're going to continue to buy the rocket engines. Yeah, because they're not the enemy. And I think Vladimir Putin has been more help to us than we will ever know, because the real enemy is now and has always been China, all the way back to the 30s when General Chennault and his flying tigers and their P-40 Warhawks or Tomahawks, with the shark faces on them, they were fighting the Japanese back then. Well, that was when Chiang Kai-shek was running things. Mao got rid of him. Mao took over and proceeded to kill about 100 million people. Communism is real. Communism is evil. Communism is nothing but a criminal enterprise. We had a man on Mitchell, can't recall his first name right now, saved my life. It's an archive. It's in one of the 1,000 episodes of Caravan to Midnight, 1,004 as of tonight. They're selling organs from the Falun Gong, who are health practitioners. Their organs are in the best shape of all because it's an advanced form of Qigong. It's a health thing. It's cellular alignment. It's like revitalization of your internal organs. They take these organs out of the unwilling donors while they are conscious. They remove their guts while they're alive to the buyer who's waiting for the order. You need a kidney, you need a pancreas, you need a liver, you need a heart. What do you need?
Yeah, I did an interview about the exact same thing. Yeah, the organ harvesting of the Falun Gong in China is very real, and so is the child sex trafficking, though, around the planet. And that's what these people at the highest levels are involved in. Gets us into the whole topic of pedogate, the highest echelons of power in the UK, the British government. This has been going on forever. Jimmy Savile, Sir Edward Heath, the former head of the MI6 or MI5, I forget which, Sir Peter Heyman. They traffic in children. And I want to circle back to something before I lose you here that you hit on, because I think it's very important. It ties this all together. Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, the mention of Lucifer, Hillary Clinton's biggest mentor, I guess, or one of the people she looked up to the most, Saul Alinsky. Now, all of this conversation about communism and what would have been hell on earth, according to Q, if she would have gotten into the White House, reminds me of Larry Grothwall infiltrating the Weather Underground. And he finds out that their plans were to kill some 20, 30 million people who couldn't be re-educated to the ways of the Marxists and the communists.
I brought up the subject of what's going to happen after we take over the government. We become responsible then for administrating, 250 million people. And there was no answers. They also believed that their immediate responsibility would be to protect against what they called the counter-revolution. And they felt that this counter-revolution could best be guarded against by creating and establishing re-education centers in the Southwest, where we would take all the people who needed to be re-educated into the new way of thinking and teach them how things were going to be. I want you to imagine sitting in a room with 25 people, most of which have graduate degrees from Columbia and other well-known educational centers, and hear them figuring out the logistics for the elimination of 25 million people. And they were dead serious.
That, I think, is what Q is talking about when Q says if Hillary would have gotten into the White House, John, it would have been, quote unquote, hell on earth. It's exactly what you just described. The Mao killing 100 million. Weather Underground saying they'd have to kill 30 million Americans who couldn't be re-educated. That truly is hell on earth. And I think it's what was coming.
Well, you heard that old bag cackle. We came, we saw, he died. She is a bloodthirsty, evil individual. She really is. She is lost. She is of her father, the devil. Okay? And Bill Clinton was just a white trash boy out of Arkansas and was an easy mark. This was set up for a long time. And
Yeah.
Hillary was the driving wheel in that whole relationship.
Well, in the Mena, Arkansas drug running through the CIA, there's the Bush CIA Clinton connection. I always say that the Bushes created the Clintons. The Clintons were more than happy to play ball because they have what you described in our first 20 minutes that we lost: avarice, greed and avarice, pure evil. And I think the other thing that needs to be said about her is, yes, I agree with you. She's pure evil, but she's also lucid enough to have known right before the election, and I'll quote, "If that bastard wins, we'll all hang from nooses," end quote. And again, can you imagine right now, John, being in their shoes? Can you imagine being John Podesta, Tony Podesta, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Feinstein, Adam Schiff, or Hillary Clinton right now, knowing that the deck is no longer stacked, knowing your crimes are legion, knowing you've been seditious and treacherous? I don't know. I'm not sure how they sleep at night.
No, these people are well and truly screwed. They really are. And I do not think at this point they should be shown any mercy, any compassion whatsoever. They have too much blood on their hands, and we need to send a message to the next generation of traitors and evildoers that on a long enough timeline, you'll cause your damage, but we will find you. We will prosecute you in a court of law, and when you are convicted, which most assuredly you will be, you will spend the rest of your life in disgrace and misery in prison. You won't be on the beach sipping a drink next to Loretta Fuddy. That's not going to happen. We're simply going to take you out of the system permanently. We will seize all of your assets, and that'll be the end of you and your illustrious career. It has to happen. We've been too nice for too long. We have tolerated people who lie, steal, and cheat. We cannot do it ourselves, and we cannot tolerate persons in positions of power who hold sway over our very lives to practice those things either. And notice the Democrats cannot do anything. The leadership cannot do anything without lying, stealing, or cheating. It's their stock in trade. And with this lapdog media of theirs, I mean, how completely disgusting. And the moronic things that come out of the MSNBC's and CNN's mouths, it's beyond deplorable. It's as crazy as a bunch of outhouse rats that somehow learned how to speak and took over some broadcast facilities. It is insane. But evil is insane. Just remember, evil doesn't create anything. It distorts, perverts, or twists something that's already been created. Well, if this isn't evil, it'll sure do until the evil gets here. I'm thinking it's evil. So, to the broader point, ladies and gentlemen, this is an exciting time to be alive. Never before has good and evil been cast into such sharp relief. And it's time to pick a side. Because well, it's written in Scripture. Father himself said it. Be either hot or cold, but if you are neither, I will spit you out of my mouth. Take the lesson from this. You can say, you walk in the middle of the road, you're going to get run over. It'll either hit you from the southbound side or the northbound side. Pick a lane. It's time. Because if you don't, the decision will be made for you. And that happens sometimes. Witness the woman who walked up to Ben Franklin and said, what kind of government have you given us? Well, his response was, a republic, madam, if you can keep it. I suspect it was more along the lines of, a republic, madam, if you can keep it. Meaning that for you to even ask that question, what kind of government have you given us, suggests you may be too weak to keep the government that we've given you. So it comes down to this. Are you an American or are you an Americant? Choose wisely. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it, Sean. This is the battle between, this is the story of all of us, being soldiers in the war between good and evil. Now is the time to make the choice. And it needs to be deliberate, and once you've made it, stay there. If you want to go to the dark side, fine. They're over there. You want to go to the right side of things. If you believe in morals and dignity, if you believe in humanity, if you believe in God, if you believe that you owe what you do in this life to something outside yourself, you're not a Ronin, you're not a masterless samurai, then you're probably already there. But if you're on the fence, move over to the side of the light, because light destroys darkness. Sean does it every day, and so does Caravan.
Amen. John, I think we can leave it right there because you've really summarized everything. I believe firmly this is a battle of spiritual warfare. That's what is largely what we're engaged in here, and that's what I think people are waking up to. The morally bankrupt. I can't even call them the left because so many on the left are walking away because they're disgusted by these Marxists and these communists and these traitors to our nation. And folks, there is truly a giant red wave coming. And it's a red wave of justice that I think is coming for the bad guys and the traitors. John, thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry about that initial 20 minutes, but I think we really hit the nail on the head here in this subsequent conversation. Can you tell people how they can find you and subscribe?
What a pleasure it's been, Sean. Thank you so much for having me on and giving me a chance to spread the word about Caravan. Just check it out, folks. Triple-dub. Well, it's actually https:// and then triple-dub. But anyway, you'll get there. caravantomidnight.com. No numbers, no missing letters in midnight, just the words Caravan to Midnight. You can sign up to see our daily news segments. Just put an email address. If you can put in a bogus email address if you want to, but I don't recommend it, because if you do that, then you won't get the newsletter that we send out every once in a while. And you'll like the newsletter. We don't sell email lists. We don't do any of that. We've never done it. We'll never do it. You have only my word for it, but you have it. Your information is private with us. And you can see our daily news segments. They range in length from 20 minutes to sometimes they go as much as an hour. Just depends. I can do what I want. It's my show, right? So I invite you to take a look at it and support us, because without our members, we could not exist. They make ARC Midnight on Saturday nights possible. They're the ones who pay for all of this. And they are loyal, and you'll be in very, very, very good company. You really will. So you have no idea who listens to this program, but some of them are very, very serious people.
Yeah.
So join us. We'd love to have you in our family.
Yeah. And you have excellent guests. And folks, if you're into podcasting like I am, go and work out every day. I always podcast, and Caravan to Midnight is a great resource for listening to those conversations that are both stimulating and informative. And our guest has been John B. Wells. John, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Sean. Take care. God bless all you.
God bless. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If this conversation resonated with you, please give it a like and do something else. Spread it on social media. Get it out to your friends, neighbors, and colleagues. It's time to wake people up. This is no longer a game. It's a fight for our very survival. It's a fight for our republic. It's a fight for justice. It's a fight for truth. And let's stay in the fight. Thanks so much for listening. For real news 24/7, visit us at SGTreport.com. God bless. Bye-bye.
All they really have left now is like the radical feminists, which is less than 1 out of 8 women. They have the Marxist ideologues who actually want to overthrow the government and kill capitalists and then try to create some sort of new, basically Maoist style or Bolshevik style revolution in the US, which is not going to work because we have guns, and that's why they want to get rid of the guns. That's really all they have. So they're catering to this increasingly shrinking and shrieking base of angrier and angrier and smaller group